Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so hopping on to our G20 hop-on, hop-off bus is former diplomat SK Tayal and his beautiful wife. Ma'am, you're looking lovely. Geeta, over to you. Want to talk some shop with the diplomat on what we are expecting, or the former diplomat on what we are expecting? What would be the biggest takeaways?
Well, there are important takeaways, Preeti, when it comes to the agenda. It's a whole bunch of ideas that will be concretized by the leaders when they meet on the 9th and 10th. But, Ambassador Tayal, the fact that there is going to be no consensus document owing to the Russia-Ukraine war, as also China's various objections. How do you see that? What's your reading on it? Is that the host country's failure, or the fact that the politics today does not allow any host country to take the onus of a consensus document on it?
It is most certainly not host country's failure, because these are the currents of world history and international relations, etc. And we must never forget that G20 is really for economic issues, for the bread and butter issues, for developmental issues. It is not for political issues. So if Ukraine is not being discussed, or if there are no paras on Ukraine, or there is no consensus on, I think we should not bother about that at all. And we should go back to the basics, as they say, and see what more can be done for major issues, whether it is debt relief. That is the major issue. The debt vulnerability is the major issue. Climate finance, recently there was this just yesterday meeting in Africa on climate finance and how they are suffering, and unless these $100 billion which were promised in Paris, there should be some concrete outcomes there, not just aspirational. Unfortunately G20 now in the last 2-3 summits has become more aspirational with no real tangible numbers.
That's true.
And there is a great effort on our part with our Sherpas that there should be some tangible outcome, and we hope that there will be tangible outcome.
I just have a question on that, but if Chinese President Xi Jinping, Putin of Russia isn't coming, do you believe that we're still, without sans these two really important nations, we're still going to have a tangible outcome to a G20 in Delhi?
You see, at present, Russia's importance is on grain export, and that is being discussed separately. Let us not mix on our facts. Turkey is discussing, UN is discussing, and G20 is not in the picture. So whether Putin is coming, not coming, in my own personal view, if President Putin is not coming, it is good. Otherwise, it would have distracted the entire G20 on Ukraine issue.
This is one of my favorite installations there. This has also happened for the G20, Nabila, if I'm not
Yeah,
right.
so all sorts of shapes and sizes. When it comes to fountains, there are all sorts of shapes and sizes.
The bull.
Oh, okay, all right.
All sorts of shapes and sizes, and the money that has been spent, Preeti, you should tell us, has the Delhi government contributed here extensively on sprucing up Delhi itself for G20?
That's political because the Delhi government.
Or has it been all the efforts? No, because
I don't want to get into the
it's
politics
interesting.
of it all.
No, but I like one of the boards, the NHAI says,
Yeah.
not just building roads, building a nation. So have we built a nation? Have we put India on the global map?
Ma'am, what's your favorite part of Delhi right now? I always like the Lutyens part of Delhi. We are heading towards the Lutyens part of
And be sure the Lutyens part of...
all the fountains are working there, and it looks so pretty.
But Lutyens Delhi is going to be fully shut, Preeti. There's really nothing that's going to be open. All restaurants, cafes, all band.
Sorry.
I'll say this is a national effort. And every designer, every creative person, every wall artist, you see so much of creativity all around, and they are all to be congratulated and really celebrated as we are traveling through Delhi. And that every corner has been done, and it's a collective effort.
Prime Minister Modi speaks about cooperative federalism, and there are 200 meetings in 50 cities. We've not seen the kind of involvement of state governments. Do you think that was lacking? You saw states, you saw culture from states, but participation of state governments, whether they're BJP or non-BJP, the posters, the hoardings, it's just not as inclusive as it should have been. Do you think there could have been more?
I had visited some city like Goa and when some events were on. So there was at least one advantage. All these cities have been cleaned up, spruced up, and people are happy that some investment has taken place. So that is a good outcome for the citizens of that state or of that city. And after all, events were held in 50 odd cities from Arunachal Pradesh to Kashmir to Kanyakumari, which has never happened earlier. So one should look at the positive of it, and I will avoid the politics of it.
Okay, let's look at the positive. Kashmir, big agenda. It changed how the world views Kashmir, especially the Arab world. Some countries did not turn up, but they still sent representation even from the private sector, such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates. But they did show up in Kashmir. The fact that Kashmir is now dehyphenated, is that a masterstroke?
I think yes. Whether it is Arunachal Pradesh or Kashmir, they are integral parts of India, and the government of India, all their agencies should behave as such, and if some meetings are being held in the rest of the country, they must be held at whatever cost. And the message goes home, this world is realist. The world understands realism, it understands strength, and it understands commitment. And by holding this tourism meeting and Lal Chowk and all the pictures I am seeing are absolutely wonderful, and there's no chaos. I'm sure you win the hearts and minds of the people of whoever a little group which is not perhaps fully integrated with India. You win their hearts and minds also. Now there are issues in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, I am told, and they want the same kind of development which has happened in the rest of the country.
Do you believe that that India hosting the G20 or being this year's India's presidency, and the way we've done it, at least in terms of welcome, the grandeur, the security arrangements, it looks fabulous, and it looks like and it shows India's growing presence globally. Do you think any on that front will influence a decision or a debate on India's side or in India's favor?
I would say that India has raised the profile of G20 globally. And as we were in Korea, there was hardly any activity there when the G20 happened there. In US, nobody cares if there is G20 or not. So the expectations are also high, and hope that there is some good outcome. And ultimately, it will raise profile of India globally, even that Global South Summit, and I think the entire exercise has been planned with meticulous detail, what all is achievable politically, domestically and internationally.